we will do a quick checking to know it a little bit each other. No?
Thank you, Xavier. And I have.
There are people from Austria. That's true. Grüß Gott.
Wow. So I'll hopefully you can see the screen of the Mentimeter, and what we're going to do is a brief check-in using Mentimeter. For those of you who don't know the tool, we have added in the chat a link that you can click, and it will take you directly to this platform, so you can vote. Also, you can go to menti.com, as it says on the top part of the slide, and use the code 5292549. And we'll use this tool. We'll do a few slides now to check in and warm up a little bit, and then we will use it intermittently during the session to do a few pulses and a few interactions. So the first question that many people are already filling in is, what country are you coming from? Are you participating from? UK so far is the winner.
Yeah, people from the United States as well, from India.
Let's test your welcoming skills in all these languages, Xavier.
Boa tarde, Portugal.
Good.
Bon après-midi, ceux qui sont venus de la France. Buonasera, abbiamo detto già. Buenos días y buenas tardes para todos los que vienen de España y de Sudamérica. What else? Hungary, I cannot talk Hungary, sorry. Belgium would be French, or would be Goedemiddag.
Okay, you pass the test. Next. Next slide. So now to know a little bit what who we are and a bit of what our role is, and this will help us as well to stage a little bit the way we present. If you could just share with us what role best describes you. I know we have many roles in life, but in terms of what you do for work, what you think best describes you. And for those of you who joined and didn't see the instructions on how to get into Mentimeter, if you go into menti.com and type in the code at the top of the screen that I'm sharing, 5292549, you can participate as well. If anybody has trouble, please put it in the chat and we'll help you. Okay, so lots of consultants, coaches, facilitators, and we have some managers, some owners or CEOs, some students or teachers. Very good. Well, let's keep on moving and now ask you a little bit about what background or what you know about this topic. So if you could just share with us. Oops, sorry, it says nada is nothing and totalmente is totally. I forgot to translate that. So on the left, nada, nothing, and totally, in terms of what you know about NER, how familiar you are with the concept of a teal organization, and Javi will touch on that, as we see that some are not. And then what's your level of autonomy, trust, freedom at work? Okay, Javi, it looks like we have work to do here.
Yeah. It's a challenge for you.
It looks like, no, it's an opportunity. This is what we want, right? It's great. Okay, so last question. is self-management. What feeling arises? Let's do another cloud. What sort of emotion comes with that word?
In a word, or
Excitement. Nice. Well, I see we're all very optimistic, which is really good, very open and receptive to the topic. So I think this is going to be easy peasy, Javi. All right. So without further ado, I suggest we pass the word to Javi. I'm going to stop sharing. And you're in mute, Javi. Yes, there you
go. Correct. I was not able to go back to the sound. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good night. I don't know where you are. Okay, we're going to try to explain in 20 minutes the basic of what we do, okay? Normally, this will take us 4 days, 8 hours, and to be in details, to be able to at least understand the let's say, complexity of the idea, okay? But the intention of today is in 20-25 minutes to give you a briefing of several areas where we focus when we are going to do a change on the operative system of a company, because really what we do is we change the culture. What we do is we create a new operative system, and then you will have 15 minutes to be able to make a reflection on it, and then ask questions, okay? All right, first thing, can you see it? It's okay? Okay. All right. Let me do this. As Xavier was explaining at the beginning, we are working on it in this area for at least 15 years. So we are speaking based on experience and based on many hours of being focused on changing the operative system. Okay, always we remember that this has been a learning process. It's still a learning process, and sorry, I have here the script. Okay, we are still changing. This is evolving. All right, but at least we have 15 years of doing this transformation. The basic concept of this was or started with Koldo Sarachaga, right? He, in the beginnings of the 90s, he was sent to a company, 180 people, and the bank sent to the company to close the company, to see if they change the product or close the company. The basic idea of the bank at this moment was these people, they are manufacturing the wrong product and they are in the wrong market. And then we need to find a different product or market. And when Koldo arrived, in 3 months, he was able to change the operative system, to change the way they were thinking and to change the way they were organizing themselves. And in almost 6 months, he was able to start making money. And they went in the first 7 years from 180 people to 3,000 people, and in 5 continents, being one of the most financial sound company even today, okay? This gave a big impact because being a 3,000 people company and making a lot of money, at least in Spain, this was a case that was starting to be communicated to once to another. And then we have here the result of it is the Harvard make a case on it, okay? This was in the 2005. From this moment, we start working in other areas and in other transformation, other companies, all right? And based on this success, in the year 2005, we start applying to other small companies, okay? The more significant reference we have, you see, are Corporate Rebels. They visited us, I believe is 4 years ago. And after spending with us, I believe 3 days, they incorporate Coldo to the bucket list they have. And in the year 2017, we contacted Frederic Laloux. He told us that at the time he didn't know anything about us. He visited us several months ago, and when he visited us, we share our experience, and he was so kind to include us as one of the TIL organization, okay? When we were asking about NER, TIL, and self-management, most of you already know what is a TIL organization, all right? Frederic Laloux published a book after several years trying to find the most advanced companies worldwide focus on person, focus on self-management companies. And the most important, at least from my side, the most important ideas out of this book is that he was able to give us a basic skeleton. He was visiting different companies, he analyzed the companies, and then he gave us the 3 main areas where the companies need to be focused, trying to achieve a TIL concept. One of them is the purpose, evolutive purpose. The second one is the wholeness, all right? And the third one is the self-management. I want to say that we have been focused in the self-management. If we need to pick one of these 3 areas, will be that we really are able to change the operative system of a company to work on a self-management concept, all right? As you see in this slide, we already have 15 years of experience. Out of these 15 years of experience, we have done more than 70 complete transformation of the operative system of companies. Out of these 70, 26 in the year 2009 create an association. They create a group. It's called NER Group. In this NER Group, we are doing things totally different. We don't share, we don't have shares in common. We don't have the only thing that make us work together is the operative system, the NER operative system, okay? Maybe we can speak about what we are doing later. 2 years ago, I will say, a learning community called Comuner has been created, where there are more than 100 people in 8 different countries, and they are all the time working together to be able to promote self-management companies, okay? Right now, in this year, the year 2020, we are working on trying to change the operative system of 18 companies, okay? And now, because we have been working only like seven person up to the year 2016, which make us be focused only on very few companies. In the year 2016, we analyzed that if we keep with this path, it will take us a lot to make an impact. So we changed the approach, not the approach how to do the change, the cultural change, the approach how to share this with more people. We open seminars, and with these seminars, we open to collaborate with other persons in this case. And now we have a team that we are 15, and the half of these 15 are in the Basque Country, and we have people in Catalonia, like Xavier, in Madrid, in Portugal, like Dunia, in Mexico. Okay, so now we are expanding a little the possibilities of change the culture of the companies. The basic of what we do, and this is not politically correct, only is the values. We think that the culture really is a powerful tool to change the operative system. It's not strategy, it's not tactics, it's the culture. It's the same like in the countries. When you think about a country, you think about the values of the culture of this country, and they react different in front of different situations. One good example will be the actual pandemic situation with the COVID. Not all the countries are reacting in the same way, and this is because they have different cultures. Probably they will get similar strategies or maybe even tactics, but the reality is that the culture makes the difference, at least from our point of view. So we really focus on the values. I have been working, as you can see, I am already 35 years working, and I remember when you see the mission and the vision of the companies that were some kind of values, mission, vision, that were done by a consulting company with the management, and then were supposed to be ideas that all the people on the company will be sharing, which this has been true very little times, because they didn't feel like these were with them. This was something that somebody else were telling them that were the culture of this company, okay? Based on values, the values, you can apply the values through the attitude, okay? And then you see this is an iceberg, and the only thing that you see normally in the companies are what kind of practice do you have. But the basic of this is the attitudes and the values. We focus on the value. We do focus on the value. I'm going to put, really we have another 4 more, but these are the basis of what we call the values. Transparency, that we're going to be speaking about this. Trust, you only get the trust if you have transparency. It's very difficult to get the trust of somebody if you hide information or you hide concept from them, okay? We have the freedom and responsibility. Both of them goes together. You can be responsible if you are free. If you are not free, really, you are not responsible. Somebody else is controlling you. Somebody else is telling you what to do, or follow what you are doing to see if it's correct or not, okay? Commitment is one of the, probably is the most important thing for a company to react and be flexible in front of the change, okay? Generosity, and you will see that we apply the generosity from the moment we start in a company, and always focus on the long-term view. This COVID virus is a good example of what most of the people are doing right now when the economy is not working, and the first thing that they are thinking is, okay, let's see if we can save the company in the next 6 months, and let's forget about what is going to happen in 3 years, 2 years, 5 years down the line. And for example, if we need to lay off people, let's lay off people, because the law allows us to put people on away of the company and try to survive with less people, okay? So with these values, how do we apply these values? We apply these values with these 10 essentials of sales management. Let's go first, transparency. We have a total transparency policy. Total is total, total and absolute. Everybody will know the price of the product or service that we are selling, the cost, the gross margin, the financial cost, the salaries, which salary goes to each one, all the variable, we don't have variable, but in case we will have variable, all the numbers, everyone in the company is able to ask, and we need to answer. But not only this, we make a continuous exercise of every month, share everything with everybody. We do this by what we call a general assembly, a meeting of all of us on 2 hours, and every month in 2 hours, we give to all of them all kind of information, okay? It's funny because most of the companies they approach to us, they already told that they are 85% transparency, 90% transparency, 75% transparency. We always make the same joke. This is like being with your wife or husband and tell her or him that you are going to be transparent from Monday to Friday, but in Saturday, you are not going to be transparent. Saturday, she or he is supposed not to ask you anything. You can do whatever you want, and then on Sunday, you will be transparent again. So the concept is a value, and it's a concept, clear concept, 100% transparency. The second thing, and this is against what we have been told in the universities, and is against the last 200 years of hierarchy. The organization of the companies right now are coming from the military organizations, where you see these small squares, which is somebody has somebody down where he will transfer what are the concept of the ideas that he wants to reach. And this guy, he will transfer to the next level, and each one will have several persons in his area that he is responsible for it, okay? And the funny thing for me, at least, is that this hierarchy is clear that it's not working. The times are changing, and it's creating a lot of frustration. Most of the people working in the companies, they really don't understand, and they don't feel comfortable with how the structure of this company is created, okay? But we keep doing the same thing. And when we go to the university and they explain you management, most of the ideas of the management goes with a hierarchy, things that we eliminate. And when we say we eliminate hierarchies, we eliminate hierarchies. We create a totally flat company, okay? At the beginning, the first changes, when we change the operative system, we will have some levels. Right now, you will see that it's a totally flat. This is a typical hierarchy company in industry, and you see on the right side how we work. We work in teams. You will see that everybody's in a team. We focus on really self-management teams. When you ask people if they are able to work on teams, 95% of or 98 will answer you that yes, we are able to work on teams. And probably they are. But most of the teams, they have a boss. So there is a hierarchy on the team. And then they are able to work on the teams because somebody is telling what to do, okay? And somebody at the end, when there is some kind of a problem that they don't get an agreement between the members of the teams, the boss will define this. In these teams, there are no boss. There are leaders that are chosen by the team. These leaders change every 6 months, at least, okay? So we don't create undercover bosses, all right? They don't earn any additional amount of money for what they are doing. They have the team, they are rotating, but they have the same level. You will see the level. And the team is the one who can replace the leader. Nobody in the hierarchy can tell anything. It's the team itself who define who is the leader and for how long you will have the leader. Okay. Another thing which makes collaborative environmental in a company is eliminate the privilege. It's funny because most of us, we think that we are in the 21st century and privilege will not be something that will still exist. But most of the medium and small size companies, you have privilege. We don't have any kind of privilege. We don't have parking lots. And when I am saying this, might be a joke, but I have been working in a company where every month the manager of production was the one publicizing a list with who can park in which place according to the performance they have in the company. Okay, we don't have closest offices. We don't have any kind of bonus or incentive individually. Nobody makes something because he is the good football player who score, but the team goes to the second league because they lose the match. Okay, so every single privilege, traveling, hotels, dining, we eliminate all of it. Number 5 is that we do what we call a salary balance. And a salary balance, we make this transparent to everyone, but and this you have a chart, as the chart that each of these points is the name of one person. You see, this will be the radiography of the history of the company, and you can see that the levels of euros will be on the left, and the names will be on the right. And you can see that doing the same job, the green one, you have people that are earning less money and others that are earning more money. If you go to the red, even the difference is a lot more. And if you go to the blue, whatever is this color, you see a big difference. When we go over there, we create levels of salary. In this case, we create only 4 levels of salary. Everybody needs to be in this level, okay? We eliminate any kind of special bonus to anyone. And we keep in mind another idea, as not of this company has been born there. When we get to a company, we see that there are these big differences. So we have created what we call a distant salary, which is that we keep in mind the difference between the 10% of the people that earns the most and the 10% of the people that earns the less. And we focus that the difference cannot be higher than 2.3 times. This is something that when the time is passing, we are reaching this number, but we take some time to get to this number, okay? Okay, we eliminate all the controls. There is not clock in, clock out, all right? Not any kind of controls. If there is some kind of inappropriate behavior, will be the team who will take action on it. We don't need anybody to be controlling any other, all right? We eliminate the extra hours. The law in Spain allows you only to work 80 extra hours per year. The average will be around 850, 200 extra hours per year. And this is something that creates difference, okay? And balance the company. So we eliminate them. We take measurement and track everything, but never individual, always on teams. We don't take a measurement of the performance of one person or an individual. This is out of, we want to create a collaborative environmental, and for this we need to have to create the culture, the operative system, okay? Dunia tell me that there are some questions, but we will see the questions later, okay? All right, sorry, I went back. Important decisions we make among all of us. If we're going to do an investment, the investment is something that we are going to share with everybody. If we're going to go from Bilbao to open a company in Mexico, this is something that we present the idea and we approved by everybody. All the people that are going to be employees, the teams are the ones who takes the decisions to be if he is going to be on board or not. We don't have human resources and we don't have this thing, financial, we have financial areas, but we don't have somebody who make the numbers and then with these numbers the management take the decision. We share all this information and we take the decision among all of us. Okay. If we want to have a company that is focused on people, people need to be safe. They need to feel that they are in a company that cares for them. The actual situation is that layoffs are approved by law. You have many different reasons why you can lay off a person. We close the door to lay off for economic reasons. Nobody is going to go out because we are losing money or because now there is a crisis or because this situation with the virus right now. We take other decisions internally. We do salary reduction, obviously approved by all of us, all right? We try to do some kind of package if somebody wants to be out for 2 years and then come back, but it's all voluntary. And the last one is that we share the result among all the people. Everyone has their salary. There is no any other kind of variable, and there is a common variable for everyone. 30% of the profits that we have, we are going to share among all of us, proportional to the salary level, all right? So everybody knows that when they need to work and they work, if then they have profits, automatically they will share this profit. So these are the 10 basic aspects, okay? And now I'm going to explain how we start this process, because it's very important. The process itself, and it's almost more important how you do the transformation, how you approach to the companies. Okay, we have been doing this in any kind of companies and in any kind of activities. As long as they have people, they have person, and this is an organization, we can apply the NER style, okay? And it's not a matter of being a cooperative or a limited company or even a public company. You have people, you need to be organized, and whatever is the kind of product or service that you do, we can apply the NER style. We have a lot already, mainly is in Spanish, because we have been focused in the Basque Country up to the year 2060 almost. We have a lot of information and most of the people know us. Then what we do is when somebody wants to do this process, we'll take between 2 to 4 months for them to take the decision. First is the property. Obviously, if the owners, they don't want to do the change, we cannot do anything. So when the owners approach to us, we spend some time with them, we give books to read, we tell them, okay, let's go to the net and see what kind of information can you find about us. We connect them with other owners that they already went through the process, and with them, we send them to visit them. And after this, we have a meeting with all the owners, and after 1 hour of changing ideas of not the process, what will be the main values that we are going to be using for this transformation, they need to vote. And they need to vote with 100%, because we at the beginning, we were not focused on 100%. There are many family companies where we learned during the process that this is very difficult if you don't have the total approval of all of them, okay? Once the owners has approved, then we don't have a contract. We need the people working on the company to approve the same. So once the owner has told us yes, we approve. We approach the people and we told them, all right, we are thinking to change this organization into NERD. For this, you need to give the approval. Then you need to read, same process. We stop the company one day. They go in a bus to visit other companies that they already went through the process. We don't go with them. They go alone. So they spend probably one day and they visit two companies and then are able to ask people who already went through the change of the operative system what are the good things and what are the bad things. Okay. After this, we stop the company another day, which is the second one before we are starting. And then we explain in 1 hour the values and the ideas, as we are doing with you right now, of NER is supposed to be. And then we request them to vote. They vote, it's a second vote, each one in a paper, they vote. And once they vote, we open we choose 2 or 3 people of the workers and they make the count. And then if we get more than 85%, but in some cases 80% of the votes, then we agree to start the process. If we get less than 80% of the votes, we decline. We don't want to go to a company where more than 20% of people, they don't feel they can work based on what we are explaining here, okay? So this is a very important aspect because it's the first time the employers has taken the decision on a change on the operative system. They feel they are part of this change, okay? So they gave us a strength that not anyone has when you go to a company to apply some kind of cultural change. Once they vote, then we go, normally we go in pairs, 2 of us, all right, to make a transformation. And the first 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, we have an interview with all the people. We devote time to know all of them. And we have a systematic where we ask what are the good things of the organization so we don't make a mistake and we don't change this. And what are the things that if they were the owners, they will want to change in the organization, okay? As they already were the ones taking the decision, these are one of the best part of a transformation. You can feel the strength and the willingness of the people to change, to go to a different kind of operative system. At the same time, once we do this, we analyze commercial, production, technology, service, economy. We have knowledge on this, so we don't make any kind of mistakes when we create the organization. Okay, we do take a good care of what kind of leadership is in place already, and if the person who is leading the project can be the person leading the future with a different operative system. Okay, and in the first month, we already are applying the first transparency, communication, and information. After probably, I will say 8 weeks, we do the second general meeting, and is to explain the change in organization. We have been 2 months working with them, understanding the process, and asking them where they want to be, in which teams they want to be, and we go from the traditional scheme to this kind of chart, the one that is on pink on the right side of the screens, okay? And we have the meeting where we explain the organization, we explain the leaders, if the leader is going to be there, is going to follow and being the leader, and we show the salary balance, all right? And we do all the physical change, all the offices, all the teams, and we start share the first goals together. What are the goals that we want to start working together, okay? And in some cases, if we see that the person who is leading the organization up to this moment will not be the right person to do the transformation, we take the management. We do both things at the same time. We do the cultural change and at the same time manage the company. All right, and most of the time will be we accompany to the manager, but probably in 30% of the case we do the management and in the cultural change. And this process normally will take the process, not the trip. The trip is still, the travel will keep going, okay? But will take 3 years. We sign a contract for 3 years and the contract is public. Everybody knows the conditions. And in 3 years, probably we will change the way of supporting this company, okay? And this is what we do and how we do it, all right? So Dunia told me that there are some questions, but we can go with the questions after the presentation. I have here Xavier keeping me on time, so I believe I did the right timing to finish, okay?
So I think we have a few minutes that I noted a few questions that maybe Javi, you could answer quickly before we go to the breakout rooms.
Okay.
The first one was why 2.3, and it's 2.3 in all sorts of organizations, that 2.3 for the salary equilibrium or the differential?
Correct, the different salary. And it's based in 2 ideas. Here we have a very big, in the Basque Country, we have a very big movement of cooperatives, companies that are owned by the workers, okay? Not only agriculture, we have a lot of industrial, service, cooperative, all right? And the movement started almost 40 years ago, 45 years ago. And when they were learning, they got to an agreement after a period of time that the difference between the lower level and the higher level was 1 to 3. 1 to 3. The lower level will be 1 and the higher level will be 3, okay? And at the same time, we like to see what is happening in the countries in this concept of the Gini index, which is the difference between the rich and the poor, okay? So we follow what is this, and we choose as a country that was a model for us, Sweden, all right? And the goal of Sweden was to go to 2.1, all right? As it's very difficult to change because one thing that I forgot to say is that we don't go down with the salary of no one. We tell this on the first general meeting. Nobody is going to lose on his salary. We are going to do a salary balance, but will be that we are going to try to find a balance, all right? But nobody is going to, we cannot change the history. We cannot change the past. You don't want to go into a company and get 20 of them and then say, all right, because you were doing something wrong. No, the salary is the correct salary in the actual structure. You have all the right to have this salary. When we are going to change, we don't want nobody to lose. So you are going to be stopped on this salary, but the rest are going to have the opportunity to get to you, okay? All right, this was the...
Okay, 2 more very quickly. Is there a room for personal assistance in this sort of organizations?
What is the meaning of personal assistant?
Secretary.
Ah, I forgot. I didn't know that there are still personal assistants. There is not at all. There is not. And nobody goes out, because the second thing that we tell to everyone is that nobody is going to be out of the company because of the transformation. Everybody needs to adapt. And we are going to ask. They are going to have the decision to say yes or not, okay? But there is not.
And lastly, what is the largest organization that operates in this sort of model?
Well, I will say the largest one is Irizar, okay, which is 3,000 people, all right? And now we are doing things in bigger organization, but we are not changing the complete organization. we are going to the virus approach, and we are changing a part of this organization. Everybody else knows that we are going to make a change, but they gave us an area, all right? But really, the two things, and I finish. We have not been focusing very big organizations because at least the Basque economy and the Spanish economy is based on small and medium-sized companies. 98% of the employment is in this small and medium-sized company. It's only 1.8 or 2% of the employment in big companies, okay? But I don't believe that being a big company will be a problem for this. Not at all. It's a matter of how much effort you want to apply. How much, obviously, to do a transformation of 400 people, we need to go 2. If we need to do a transformation of 4,000, maybe we need to go 6, all right?
Thank you, Javi. Okay, we're gonna now, I'm gonna quickly share a slide for Mentimeter, but not for you guys to answer it just yet. We will be discussing it in small breakout rooms that we're gonna teletransport you to very soon. So Javi talked about values and how those values manifest at the surface of the iceberg in practices, right? So we've picked some of the most iconic practices of our model or our operating system. And we're gonna ask you to discuss in your rooms how impactful you think they could be in terms of positive impact to the organization and how difficult they are to implement. And for some reason, I left it in Spanish. Again, I'll try to correct it, but you can get it, right? Impact and effort at the bottom. So I think we're ready to teletransport. Make sure you unmute yourselves before you go on the transportation trip. And if you want to refer back to those questions, you just you have the link of Mentimeter, or note out the code because it will be accessible to you on the screen in Mentimeter. Okay. Rodrigo, are we ready for the trip? Okay, so it looks like we have a bit of polarity in all of them. Some people think it's very hard to implement. Some people think it's easy, but there's more consensus on the positive impact of having no bosses. Let's see. No controls, easier to implement, positive impact. Javi, what do you think about this? Salary equilibrium, lots of mixed feelings about this one, Javi.
All right. For example, salary equilibrium, I believe, is one of the most powerful tools that we have for the complete organization. For the organization, obviously, these create organizations where the lower salaries are higher and the higher salaries are probably a little below the market. But this will be compensated with a 30% of profit sharing. But one of the things that create a lot of loss of energy is to speak of salaries every year or every 2 years with everyone, even if you have the best system for evaluate and define the salaries. With this system, we have organizations that in probably, I will say 12 years, they have not need any new negotiation or any new discussions about the salary, not at all. And this creates a powerful situation because you don't lose energy on it, okay? Total transparency, which is the most easy to accomplish. It's only something that we have in our mind. It's clear. If you say that it's going to be totally transparency, this does not cost anything, not at all.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have a second part now where we're going to talk about a practical case. I'm going to stop sharing Mentimeter now. And we're going to go a bit off script on this particular session because our technical support is actually going right now through the initial steps of an organization. So I'm going to ask Rodrigo if he can give us a few words, and then I'll share a case study on what's happening in his company and what moved them to take this step.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rodrigo Marroquin. We are in I'm going to explain a little bit of a background. We're in ground transportation between Mexico and the US. Company a little bit over 500 strong. And I'll explain on what took us here. Dunia, make sure that keep me in check with the time so I don't overexpand. But
you have 10
it all
minutes.
started many
Tops.
Yes, it all started many years ago. About 20 years ago, I inherited a manufacturing business, a family business that I started to do naturally to take care of the person. And we were back then. My dad was born in the early 1900s, and we were a military way of doing things. So I inherited the business and started to change, but without losing my father's control. So we used to get the workers in the factory, and he would kick them out because being 1 minute late or just taking a breakfast break during a non-specified hours. And I had a lot of discussion with my dad. One thing led to the other. I switched business and went to work for a Swedish company where I kind of realized how to do these self-managed teams. And we grouped the welders in this case, and just tell them the objectives. They manage their own time, and the production was set by them, and it was working beautifully. We increased productivity 4 times and reduced quality issues almost to 0. And this company was sold to another company, and I was laid off. And then I started our own transportation company in 2004. We started with 4 trucks, now 250 trucks. And the business started to grow because naturally doing this to listen. Whoever taught me in this business, because I had never been in transportation, was the people, and I listened to them, and we all together made the plans and the objectives, and it was working quite good until we started to grow, and I started to invite people, managers that started to get, oh, no, we need to control this and we need to control that. And we kept growing and getting more and more controls. And as we kept growing, we kept doing less and less profits. I mean, in the amount, it was more profits, but in the margins, in the percentage, it was less. And 5 years ago, I went and searched everywhere through different organizational development consultants and advisors, and sign up to Harvard Business School and sign up to other institutions to learn how to go back to our essentials, where I knew everyone's name. I got feedback from everyone. I didn't to control them. I didn't control the fuel or control their schedules. And our collaborators felt in a free space, and they did awesome. And 4 years ago, we were doing very bad. And when I went to these consultants, I was telling them, I want to reconnect with the person, and it's too big now. I mean, the company was a big animal now, and I couldn't control it. So they started to help me a little bit and a little bit more. And one day I was meditating at 4 o'clock in the morning, and everyone that I didn't like how they treated our fellow human being, it was kicked out of the company. I said, no, you no longer work here because your ego and you're not treating our fellow human being the right way. And I kept throwing out in a period of 4 years about 7 operational managers, among other more people. And I was at my house meditating and said, well, this guy wasn't here, and how come they not understand? And this guy wasn't here, and this guy's not here anymore, and this guy's not here anymore. And then I kind of felt an illumination, an epiphany, where I saw that the problem was me. And I got a panic attack, and I stopped breathing, and I thought I was dying. I said, well, if it's not gonna be me, somebody else is gonna take care of it. And a couple of hours after, my youngest kid wakes me up and said, Dad, are you gonna take me to school? And I said, I'm alive. And that day I went running to the office and said, hey guys, listen, all this time I've been wrong. I wanted to do it my way, and because this is what worked for me when everyone was free, and I was trying to implement it and try to control you. And here's a blank check. You tell me what you want. I'll do everything for you. And within a week, we started to have about 20% increased sales. The money that it was asked, or whatever the favors that they were asking, was very little. And this was in April of last year. And a couple of other collaborators that we truly believe in freedom and in the person started to help me look for procedures or methodologies to free the people. And we started on our own doing whatever, just freeing the people. And we started to discover that the more that we free, the more responsible they can. And that we didn't need to do much, no more controls, no more, I don't know, guys. In 10 years, I have built about 10 stacks this big of operational procedures, and they're all out there in the dust. So one thing led me to another. I bumped into a friend that recommended with K2K, and they heard about our story, and then we started to read about them and start to make some implementations until I realized that if I wanted to do it on my own, I was gonna die. I needed help on some of the figures, and when talking to colleagues, you're like holding a carriage of 6 horses, and you only want to let go 2. You need to let go of everything. And I realized that I needed help. And end of the story, after a kind of a courtship of 4 months, we started 2 weeks ago. Very happy. We started informing the 500 and plus employees what we wanted to do. And for those of you who have questions how we did it, because we're in transportation and we don't have anyone there, so I'm the only owner. I accepted that we wanted to do this. Then we have the K2K approval, and now we needed the collaborators. And it was both an excitement and kind of being pressured. What happens if they say no? And in 4 assemblies, we had pretty much the majority of the employees. And we transmitted pretty much what I'm telling you, what happened in my life, explained to them, and that we needed their help, and that it was for the best of everyone. And 1 out of 327 that were the ones that assisted in person said that he didn't want to change to the Nair style. And the rest of them said yes. And I said to this only person, I said, why don't you give it a shot? If you don't like it, we'll try to figure out something for you. And our next steps is interviewing 1 by 1 of all the 500 employees and seeing what they like, what they don't like, and trying to define the teams, the team sizes, and who's close to the customer, who's close to the operation, who's close to the additional services. We're long story short, that's where we're standing. I'm very excited. I think we're very fit to be a part of the Nair, and that's about it. Very, very excited. I'm very, very happy.
Thank you so much. I don't care about the time anymore because it was such an inspiring and cool story.
Thank you.
You made my day just listening to this. It was really lovely. Thank you, Rodrigo, for sharing this.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go to the last part of this masterclass. And what I'm going to share with you is a little case study of my first transformation to this new style. I did this, I led this transformation in Portugal with the support of Javi, who had to travel a lot from Bilbao to Lisbon. And this was a small company, about 40 to 50 employees. It was an engineering, it is an engineering company of mainly automation sort of solutions for the industry. So it has both the engineering, but also the mounting and the construction, the building of the actual solutions. You see here some of the pictures. The one here in the center where the guys are going with the thumbs up was after a quick Sociocracy 3.0 course where we taught them how to choose roles, and they had just chosen their representatives for the different forums for planning and for governance. They were very happy. Very, very, very nice conversations that happened in those meetings. Okay, so quick chronology. So this all started in 2018. And at the end of 2018, this company, who had a very big customer and a large dependency from that large customer, actually got a very nice forecast from that customer, and they were going to have a record year in 2019. But even so, they had a past of ups and downs, very dependent on the customer, and always like not able to commercially become more independent. So the two of the owners attended the K2K seminar, looking for answers to how they had gone through several transformations, and it seemed that they were not finding the right formula to make a breakthrough. But then a crisis came, actually, and it was by coincidence. But in December, that main customer had a reorganization and announced a major investment reduction of 60%. So this put them in a technical bankruptcy if this was going to happen, right? Because it was a huge reduction in the volume they expected suddenly. So that actually made the owner think that it was even more urgent to look for a solution if they were able to survive the crisis, right? And we actually helped them a bit on the negotiations before even the program started of this company. We called it the Oxygen Plan, where we negotiated a minimum package of oxygen so the company could breathe. Not make profit for the end of the year, but at least breathe. And in the meantime, in March, the customer agreed that in principle, but they had to go through many approval processes to get it approved. The approval only came in August. And in the meantime, we agreed to do a diagnosis and do some recommendations and vote if the employees wanted to start with this new model. So similar to the process that Rodrigo mentioned, we actually made the decision of the go no go decision, let's say, a bit later. We did the diagnosis first, which consists of those interviews that Rodrigo was mentioning to all the employees, and then they decided unanimously to go for it. And then about 2 months later, we rolled out the new organization and the salary equilibrium plan. And I'll talk a little bit about it. And to me, it was amazing how quickly we started to see the results. In December already, we had a record order book that guaranteed our results for 2020. And we were actually able to end the year with a positive result. We did our first participative budget, which was really painful because we had to do a lot of learning in terms of how budgeting works. If we want people to make decisions, people need to understand how the whole P&L works. And it was really nice to have gone through that, because actually we had to redo everything due to the COVID crisis. And actually, I think COVID made this company even stronger, because we became really good at redoing budgets and scenarios and almost living the moment, let's say, right? And instead of planning, we would just kind of adapt to the situation. So even with the COVID, we had positive planning, positive results. And by June, which is when we chose an internal, we selected an internal coordinator, and let's say that the company is now autonomous, running in self-management in an autonomous way. The results were actually expected to double those of 2019. So you see here in graphs what this meant in terms of the order book, in terms of the EBITDA. These are all 12-month rolling average graphs. So we're looking an accumulation. They're really useful to look at trends. And you can see this one is phenomenal on cash flow, which shows the really nice indicator in terms of the health, financial health of the company. Okay, so it was is this in Spanish? No, sorry. I don't know what happened with my translations, but I just realized that some of them are still in Spanish. Anyways, we did this is the votes that we did initially. We did a check-in using the weather as an analogy on that exciting day where all the employees decided to go with this model. And you can see mostly the mood was springtime. But there were also some winds and storms, so lots of turmoil. And the answer was yes, in 53%. And yes, let's advance. But I do have some worries about this transformation, but I want to advance. So 100% voted yes. And right after, the next day, we had a fishbowl. And this was a lovely session because it coincided with this voting that the owner received a request for quotation of a huge project. And he felt very overwhelmed by the size of the project and the fact that it was coming already late. So we were at a disadvantage in terms of the competition and had low probability of winning. And it required a lot of engineering work to put it together. And it was the summer. So he was about to turn it down, saying it was too risky to bid for it. And he was not going to have enough capability in the team to put this together in the timings that the client wanted it. But we said, okay, hold it. Since we're turning into self-management now, we still don't have the teams, but let's just do a fishbowl and consult it with the organization. And this structure, for those who don't know it, is really powerful. You put an empty chair in the center, and in the center you have the experts start the conversation on why we shouldn't go for this, which was at the moment all the engineering experts and the most senior people and him thought it was too risky and too impossible to aim for this project. And the rest of the people can jump in and start and participate in the conversation whenever they feel like it. But then somebody who's not participating, who's not talking at the moment, needs to step out. So there's always an empty chair. And it's a self-managed structure. So they need to decide who gets up. And it flows very nicely. It needs no facilitator. Almost everybody went through that chair, which was really rewarding. And everybody felt involved in making this decision. Halfway through, we had established that it was a crime not to bid for the project. We needed to go for it. We needed to fight. But then who's going to do it, right? So the half of the session, then we asked, are there volunteers who want to do this? And several people step up and ask questions to the experts, to the engineering experts, in terms of what sort of expertise, what sort of capability was needed for this team. They canceled their holidays voluntarily, and they fought for the project, and they did an amazing job. We ended up being second on the race, so we ended up losing, but the effort and the outcome that we were able to achieve was phenomenal. And also doors were open because we actually were contacted by one of the most prominent engineering firms in Sweden, and we formed a consortium. So we actually bid for this project together and formed a partnership with this engineering firm that is opening doors for the future. So even though we lost the bid, we learned a lot, we gained a lot of confidence, and opened doors for new commercial opportunities. Also to mention that as we were going through this change, there's a lot of situations that come up that are wounds from the past, and there's a healing. It's a healing process, and we're always making this kind of decision of which ones we need to heal, which ones it's best that we forget, because we need some sort of a ground where we can start building. So we need to clear some of these wounds that are there, and there's going to be scars that are left. I'm not going to go in. We had a really moving story of one person that actually was very wounded for a series of misunderstandings, and on the verge of leaving the company, and ended up becoming one of the most influential and most influential leaders in helping us bring this transformation forward. So yeah, it's a healing process, and it's amazing the change that can bring to people's lives. Okay, in terms of the new organization, we reorganized the teams, and here we are evolving our approaches, and in some cases we give companies a starting point. In this particular case, we chose to give them a starting point and provide to them an org chart, a recommendation. Obviously, nobody goes into a team that doesn't want to go into the team, but we kind of design the structure for them, because they were bleeding. They needed to get a starting point quick, so that they could start operating in the new model. But personally, I felt very uncomfortable doing this, because I felt like a semi-god, and if we are preaching self-management, then we need to co-create, right? So there were lots of philosophical conversations between Javi and I, why yes or why not. I felt uncomfortable, and I would have liked to co-create more, but I always have the question in my head as to, would we have been able to get it done as quickly and have those positive results at the end of the year if we hadn't done it this way? So some of those decisions we have to make in the moment, and they're very contextual. And what we tell them is, look, we're going to give you a starting point, and then you build it from there, and then we start making decisions. Same with the salary equilibrium. The red bars were the salary increases that we made, so that we brought everybody to the bands that you see there. And again, that was it felt a bit of a semi-god exercise to me, but there ended up not being that many changes afterwards, so no many needs for changes. So it wasn't too bad in the end. Okay, and what happens to managers, right? Because we say we don't have managers. What happens to managers is that we try to put them in positions, especially business development and commercial positions. For this particular company, that was the biggest strategic challenge that they had, is becoming more commercial. So a lot of the people that used to have senior positions and managerial positions ended up reinforcing the commercial teams. So we went from a scarcity in terms of orders to a lack of capacity. And very quickly, our problem, you see on the bottom graph, the lines are the capacity, the engineering capacity, that 100%, and the red is the ideal at 80%. And we were very quickly, we were forecasting for 2020 a problem with capacity. And it was very funny because it was this is a major milestone, right? To be able to get all these orders. And we had people saying, oh my God, we have these problems, we have no capacity. And it's like, okay, guys, do you realize what a huge achievement? This is a great problem to have. And when you're in the midst of the transformation, you don't realize the huge steps that you're taking forward, right? So it was really nice to see how the nature of the problems that we were having evolving as we progressed. These are some of the values, right, or beliefs that we challenge with this sort of transformations. So we go from austerity to abundance, right? And when we say generosity is one of the values, that's kind of what we mean. And we go from control to trust, from protecting or having a paternal sort of a relation with our colleagues to giving responsibility, right? And this creates shock and fear and confusion. So at the beginning of the transformation, everybody was very excited. Everybody had voted, and it was so powerful to have them vote and want to do this, because it's their decision, and this is the first transformation I do where I experienced no resistance at the beginning. Everybody was going for it and supporting the transformation. Then as we start working, of course, this belief system starts being challenged, right? As we're changing the operating system. And then is when all these fears and confusions start. And then our role becomes a role of giving comfort, right? of addressing those fears and addressing those situations, those emotional roller coasters, right? We did use Sociocracy 3.0 as a, so if we do an operating system, this would be an app. We consider an app that we can plug in to our approach, which we found was very useful to very quickly give some guidelines on how we make decisions, how we put forward proposals in a collaborative and participative way that doesn't grind us to a halt, because that we make that we self-manage and that we do collaborative decision making doesn't mean that everybody needs to be in total agreement with everything, okay? And Sociocracy 3.0 provided a nice framework for being able to do that quickly and electing our representatives quickly. And I failed to mention before, in our organizational structure, we had at the core two teams, which are the planning team, we call it commitment team, and the governance team, which we call pilot team. So kind of like a steering team. And all the teams elect reps to go to those forums, the commitment and the piloting. And those forums, in the commitment team or the planning team, we make decisions related with production, logistics, etc., and making sure that the teams are being held accountable for the commitments that are expected of them and that they're volunteering or that they're proposing. And then, so you need that sort of structure and that sort of forum, as you don't have a boss that is coming to you telling you have to do this, you have to do that, right? And that's how we hold teams to a check, and we have lots of transparency in terms of what are we committing to and are we being able to honor that commitment or not. And then we have the governance teams, or the pilot team, which is form of reps again, and that is more for more strategic decisions, for setting objectives, for setting the budget. Very consultative, but it's the forum where those decisions get made. And in terms of decision making, we really like the two mantras from Sociocracy 3.0, which are: it's good enough for now, safe enough to experiment. We don't need to look for perfection. It's better to move quickly. And it's not one or another, it's both and more. So it's, let's look for integrating. Let's not look for bans, yes or no, I like it, I don't like it. Let's look at the objections that are objections because there's a risk that is being perceived that we need to make sure we integrate in our solution so that it's even a better solution, okay? So following the integrated decision-making model. All right, so how was the owner living it? So in our implementation, we suggested to the owner that he needed to step aside, okay? And at that moment, he was very tired and overwhelmed. And he did so. And the reason why we suggested for him to step aside is because we saw an enormous dependency on him for all sorts of decisions. A brilliant engineer that was able to bring solutions to everything, right? So everybody became very dependent on that. And in order to allow for the people to grow and be able to make those decisions and bring those solutions themselves, he needed to step aside. But this is very hard for somebody who's been doing this for almost all his life, right? And we probably underestimated how hard it was for him. So we asked him halfway through how was he living it, right? And this is some of the comments he shared, right? So he thought some people were still skeptical. He didn't like that we didn't co-create the salary bands, and also he felt probably that the salary bands that we were being too generous. So for him that was a cultural shock. He felt a bit like the blame for everything that was wrong. So that, that attachment, it's kind of your baby, right? So anything that is being changed, if you're witnessing it, it feels like almost like an attack to you, right? So a lack of respect for the legacy. And he felt that in some cases we were a bit too directive, and we need to be more facilitative. And this is very challenging for a coordinator, because there are, as we are doing this transformation, there are moments where we need to constantly adapt the style and evolve it as the organization is maturing the style. So it's a very difficult balance in terms of directiveness versus facilitative style, giving opinions, or just providing structure, right? In terms of the positive aspects, he felt that the belonging, the feeling of belonging and engagement from the whole organization. He felt that some people that have disproportionate influences no longer had that, and there was a more balanced voice around the whole organization. He felt that all the teams understood better the business, and the employees felt comfortable expressing their positions, their points with conviction. He really enjoyed the Sociocracy training, because it also provided for him some tools so that we could start talking about domains, in terms of delegation of domains. So for him, that was very useful. Of course, he really appreciated the financial turnaround and the constructive challenge that we brought about. And what are our reflections so far from this journey? The initial vote helps tremendously to get everybody to want to build a solution with you. Very, very powerful. If the focus is clear, the results pop up immediately, because everybody is rowing to the same direction. And to me, it was I was a believer of this model before started already for many years, but I couldn't believe how quickly the results came about. A bit to Rodrigo's point as well on the story he told, how as soon as he gave some autonomy to the people, the results just came immediately. And for me, that was shocking how quickly that happens. Very tough for the owner to be a witness of this change. So Rodrigo, tighten your seatbelt, because it might be tough. And in terms of at the beginning, a lot of very intense, right? Because there's a lot of topics, in terms of labor law, in terms of relationships, the healing, the traumas, financially as well, that required a lot of effort. Financially is very interesting. A good financial controller controls, right? So when you tell a good financial controller that there's no longer need for control, and we have to do full transparency and make sure everybody understands the finances, that's kind of like almost like talking Chinese. So it's very difficult to get that, right? Because there's always a tendency to use the numbers as a means to control, and a feeling that if you're totally transparent, you put at risk the organization, right? And this is a huge learning process and very important, because if people don't understand the financials, then they cannot make decisions. They cannot row all in one direction. So it's very important that people understand how the company works financially. If you promise self-management and transparency, people expect it from the very beginning. So there might be some cases where we need to prescribe a starting point, but we have to be ready then for the pushback from that, because when people vote, they vote for self-management from the very beginning. So if we can afford the time to co-create the new organization, to co-create the salary bands, it's better. And trust takes time to build, like that person at Zaro that said, I'm not sure about this because I don't trust that this is going to happen. We can talk, but the best way to build the trust is by starting to walk and starting to see the results as we do it. And this is the end. We are doing great on time. I'm sorry, I was a bit accelerated. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be able to have time to do a last breakout session. And we're going to ask you in your breakouts to talk about now what. So what do you get from all of this? And what is your next step?
Through the change of the operative system, you can ask anyone, what is the sales figure? What was the goal? What is the gross margin? What is the actual gross margin? What is the benefit? And all of them will have this information clearly. There is something to add to this, is that as they are going to have a 30% of the share of the profits, they pay a lot of attention of what is going on. Okay.
Thank you.
Javi, we have somebody who wants to send the CV to K2K.
Very good. Very good. This is good. And I have seen someone that is a strong, who wants to make a salary balance already. Okay, so this is going to be.
Okay. There's room for a few more questions as we do this. We have 2 more Menti slides. One is just to give us help in terms of tailoring this sort of sessions. But I don't know, are there any more questions in the chat?
What changes in your approach are you excited about? Looking backward and forward. No, this one we already saw, no?
Yeah.
Oh, no. But Vincent wasn't there. So Vincent was still coming. He was still in the groups.
Okay.
So we didn't answer it to him. What does the typical KVK or K2K engagement look like? How does K2K participate with the company over the 3 years?
Dunia?
There's, of course, there's a intensity at the beginning. there's different ways of engaging, as Javi was saying. So there might be a situation where within the company there's somebody who can coordinate the transformation, or there might be situations where we feel it's best that one of us is the coordinator. And as Javi said, we work always at least in tandem. So one is more on the ground and the other one is playing more the role of coach or advisor, but also very participative as well and involved. And then the beginning is a lot more intense, the engagement. And then as we progress, it requires less time. So even though we do this for 3 years, but already after the first year, in terms of working days, it's not a full-time engagement, one company, unless it's very large. So it reduces in intensity because the people learn how to do it, and because we are self-managed, there's not a strong reliance on the coordinator for the everyday. I don't know if that's the sort of question that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we have some people. Javi mentioned it. 2 consultants for 400, 6 people for 4,000, with a question mark.
Javi?
¿Cómo?
So, Javi, the rule was.
So if 2 consultants can do 400, a company of 400 employees, you think that
Yeah.
6 can do 4,000?
Yeah. No, what I was saying is that the problem with a big company is a matter of how much effort do you put on it, okay? Normally we go, as Dunia was saying, in tandem 2, and we go to a company of 30, and we go to a company of 400. And even we have been 2 in a company of 700, okay? So normally we go only 2. For very specific areas, we can go 3 or 4. If we need to do 700 interview, we go 4 or 5 of us, but then only 2 of us will stay in the transformation. All right. So this is the situation. If I need to think in a company of 6,000, depending if they are all located in the same place or not, we will think that we need to increase the effort. We need to have more people. All right. It's incredible the years of hierarchy culture that the companies already have. So when you go new, you have only 2 months of the new culture and 25 years of the old culture. So you need to be very strong in the values and in the principle and in the experience, not to be deviate or from the process. Okay.
There is another question. Case studies were about entrepreneur-owned companies. Do you think this is an enable element to drive the transformation, or a public company with traditional management can do as well? I don't know if I went too fast, no? But the idea is that we did show with one owner company examples. And the question was, with these public companies, would it be possible?
We already did public companies. We did public companies, and we did what we call administration owned by the state companies too. We have done both of them, and even we have made how do you call un ayuntamiento, Dunia?
A city hall.
A city hall. Okay, so everything that is an organization with people, with goals and economy, we can do it.
All right, I think we've come to the end. If you guys want to put the mics off and do any final mention or leave, I think we finished.
Thank you.
We live in silence.
Thank you for your time. Bye-bye. Thank you.